So a lot of talk on the internet is about how Tencent just bought out Ubisoft. If you don't know what or who Tencent is, they're a fairly popular Chinese company that actually promotes mainly mobile games like the Chinese companies usually do. But the recent news has dropped and Tencent has acquired a small portion of Ubisoft. In short, Ubisoft sold 25% of their company to Tencent for $1.2 billion with a B to create a subsidiary team to specifically work on games like Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and Rainbow Six spin-offs. More specifically, their Tom Clancy series, but I'm pretty sure the average person out there is going to know it as Rainbow Six spin-offs. Now, this news has just dropped, and I'm not gonna lie, I've heard so much drama on this entire thing, and most importantly, a lot of misinformation being spread. So what this video is going to do is we're gonna go ahead and dissect everything that's going on instead of the actual, deal between Tencent and Ubisoft, and we're gonna clarify some terms and show what's actually going on. Now, immediately, I already see people talking about the words such as bought, acquired, sold, XYZ, and essentially every single one of them are seeing those words and throwing stones at Ubisoft, when in reality, this deal is actually pretty good for them. Let's get into it. But before we do, I want to clarify what the term bought out means. This is actually a business term because I see a lot of people throwing this term around and it seems like they don't actually know what the term means. So here's what it is. Ubisoft was not bought out by Tencent. A company or a business can only be considered bought out when a separate entity buys out the majority of the company, as well as having the ability to control the entire company since they have a majority share. So in other words, a company would have to acquire 50% of the shares in order for them to be considered bought out. Tencent making a deal with Ubisoft for 25% of their company is not a buyout, not by a long shot. What they have is a minority ownership, not a majority ownership, which is pretty common in businesses. And most importantly, not only does Tencent not own the majority of the company, they are still literally at the mercy of Ubisoft's desires. They literally still have to listen to them. But we'll get more into that later when we talk about the good things of this deal. But getting into the actual deal, a lot of people on the internet are kind of confused on what this means for a company like Ubisoft, and we're wondering if it's good or bad and stuff like that. But in order for us to break it down and answer that question, you have to take a little history lesson of Ubisoft as a company. From 2015 to 2020, Ubisoft was very much in a down spiral as far as games went. I think we all kind of know how those games... I'll show a compilation here. Y'all know these games. They were not good. Because of that, another French company called Vivendi was actually trying to capitalize on the fact that, well, Ubisoft was doing pretty poorly. And the way they attempted to capitalize off of Ubisoft's failures is that they were trying to attempt a hostile takeover with Ubisoft. If you don't know what that means, to put it simply, it's when a company tries to secretly take majority control of another country, aka trying to steal a company from out under their feet. That's pretty much it. And as you would expect, because Ubisoft is still Ubisoft to this day, that never came to fruition for a few reasons. One of the main reasons being none other than Tencent. They essentially bought and blocked Vivendi from actually being able to take majority control, aka they bought like 5 shares, I believe, inside of Ubisoft, and that prevented Vivendi from actually taking majority control, aka Tencent kind of saved Ubisoft's ass. So this relationship between the two companies is not new. As a matter of fact, it actually is a long-lasting thing, and they're pretty friendly with each other. They help each other on games, they help publish each other's stuff. It's a pretty long-lasting friendship. But of course, even if Ubisoft was saved by Tencent essentially, that doesn't necessarily change the opinions of the investors. But since there was a few gems here and there, we can fast forward to now, and Ubisoft has now sold a portion of their company for $1.2 billion to a longtime friend within the industry. To kind of summarize this into one little ball, essentially in just a few years, Ubisoft went from 1, almost being on the verge of secretly being taken over by another company, 2, having literally no money, and 3, losing all trust with their investors, to now selling just 25% of their company to a friend for $1.2 billion, willfully giving away 25% of your company instead of losing 100% of your company. Yeah, that's a big difference. So to put it short, yes, this deal is actually insane for Ubisoft, allowing them to keep their company as well as still have majority stock, which means that 25% that they just gave away to Tencent, guess what? They still control what Tencent can do with it. I'm gonna put it into a little analogy for people out there. Imagine if you had a bike and somebody was about to come steal your bike. Your friend comes over and absolutely decks the person that was about to steal your bike. And as payment for helping you, you allow your friend to take your bike every once in a while and use it. But the catch is you still get to tell your friend when and where they can take your bike, and they have to bring you a bag of chips every once in a while. This is a huge win, as how 2 seconds ago, you were about to have no bike at all because somebody was about to steal it. And if you really get down into the nitty-gritty of things, technically speaking, this deal is even better for Ubisoft, seeing as how, technically speaking, Ubisoft is now protected for actual hostile takeovers like they were about to go through, in the future. Because in order for a company to reach Ubisoft, they now have to go through Tencent. I can guarantee you one thing right now. The majority of companies do not have more money than Tencent, so they will lose that battle. Now, where do the studios and companies go from here? Honestly, I do think that this deal is one of the best things that could have happened, not just for Ubisoft, but for Tencent as well. Let me explain. Let's start with Ubisoft, because in reality, literally nothing changes with them. They are the majority holders of Ubisoft still. They, one, still have a say in what Tencent does with Assassin's Creed, Tom Clancy, and Far Cry, and two, it buys Ubisoft more time as a company to kind of figure out what in the world they kind of want to do going forward. It's not like we're going to erase everything that's happened in the past with Ubisoft. There is still public opinion that goes negative against them. This gives them and buys them some time to actually figure out what they want to do. And most importantly, in my opinion, I think getting a new set of eyes on your IPs is exactly what Ubisoft needs within the gaming industry. And most importantly, I think that getting a new set of hands and eyes on your IPs is one of the best things that could happen for Ubisoft. I have always stated that one of Ubisoft's biggest problems was that they got too comfortable with their formula. And one of the best ways that you could fix that is if they hired an entirely new set of people to work on these games. Essentially what just kind of happened with this deal. I always thought that one of the few ways that Ubisoft could shake up their formula again was with a drastic change of eyes and hands on their games. And not only do you have that now, you have it from a subsidiary studio that works both ways. And for Tencent, I'd argue this is a little better for them as well, because of one main reason. China is on a roll with AAA games recently. As with most Chinese publishers, some of Tencent's most popular and profitable video games are all mobile games and League of Legends, but ignore League. League makes you want to. There is so much money in mobile games that often Chinese studios are denied when they promote a traditional AAA game in the modern market. However, I think we all know now in modern gaming what actually happens when Chinese studios are kind of given that leeway to be able to create a AAA game. I mean, they're literally taking over the industry. And while they primarily promote mobile games and League, this could be the company's opportunity to take a step forward in the development side of the culture and see themselves if they'd like to dip their toe in this very young, but already phenomenal and profitable AAA market from China. But all in all, I'd say this thing is absolutely a ginormous W for both sides. Ubisoft has new eyes on their IPs that may actually alter the very safe and sound formula they have basically never changed from the very beginning. And Tencent gets to aid their friends at Ubisoft, all while getting a little seat at the AAA table with their own development team. But as we all know, only time can tell whether or not this deal is going to come out good. Personally, I think it'll show out. But I have been Poochie, your resident brown skin nerd of the internet, and in all honesty, I'm probably going to go play AC Shadows. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.